would have to follow something different than the smaller lots. So I would like to maybe.
And I think that it's almost kind of like you have to think that way. It's like I said, if your neighbors are X amount of distance from you, you're going to have less impact. But now what you're saying with these coops, where my neighbor could have it, 6 feet from me and I wouldn't know it, that changes that idea. So
essentially, you don't want free range chicken.
well, I'm trying to keep, like, you have one neighbor that loves them and wants them, and the other neighbor sees them as a nuisance. It can't be a nuisance.
Yeah.
And if you're on these tiny lots next to each other, then
My priors are you'd have to have like an acre. That's my priors. You wouldn't have them on the side tent. Yeah, you have to have a bigger lot. That way they're spread out enough. That's my priors, not based on any evidence or any other.
well, that's kind of what I was thinking.
My priors would be.
I'm willing to listen if there is ways to house them that. Is that not cruel to keep them in the chicken coop forever?
So, I mean, there are rules of the chicken coop has to be so big for however many you have. So, like, if you have one, obviously you can have such a smaller coop versus if you had 6, it would have to be like 10 feet for each, chicken.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think inspections and stuff, you don't want it to be cruel to the animals, so that would be part of, maybe you get a permit to have that, like in town, like stuff, you have to sign up your dog or whatever, like in order to do that, it would be inspected.
Chicken
You don't want it, yeah.
Take a picture.
Back in the park here.
Do they have to wear collars, by the way?
No, that's good. That's fun.
Big ball. Hey, Harold, that's your chicken. Yeah. Will people be walking them on leashes?
Yeah. I think you have it. This is a tough one, right? I mean, if you try to limit the Daryl's point, right? Houses are close together, right? You start to limit it, then you walk that fine line dividing the town based on.
That's what I think.
And that's, that's kind of the nature of it too, right? But you also kind of walk the fine line too. One of the things I enjoyed when I moved out here, there weren't kind of tight too. So, but again, if the legislature is going to change it, so I do appreciate getting ahead of it. That's good.
See, maybe.
I do think you really have to think through it, right? This is going to be a tough, if you say, it's very easy to say, oh, we'll do inspections. You have to put a who behind it, you have to put the rules behind it, and then you have to stay on top of that person to do it. And then the compliance with it, right? Some of self-compliance, you're probably going to say it's got to be in the backyard. You can't see it, so I see some of this where we run into it with dogs very rarely, but we do run into it with dogs where, we've had neighbors here leave their dog on a chain outside all day. So you get into the animal cruelty side of it that, that's going to happen. It's the unfortunate side of it.
It's one of those things that can make good neighbors bad neighbors. If it's
Yeah, and it's a barking dog will just drive neighbors.
Exactly.
So,
Because one of the things I thought was, just brainstorming, right, was that, okay, you need to have an acre. But if you're less than an acre, like you can get a variance. To get a variance, you've got to get, like regularly, you got to get your neighbors to agree.
Yeah, and that's good.
In other words, because I'm aware of
one voting neighbor that says no, then they'll have to invite to the block party.
Yeah, and the other thing is, with sort of like building a garage or something, somebody comes in to buy that house next to them, they see that garage. Will they see the little chicken coop that's in the house next to them when it's sold and somebody buys it? And they get.
I'm just wary of turning that loose.
No, it's a very
on this side of town.
Yeah. It's hard to judge with what we know.
What they have, a puppy mill? Remember we had the problem where there were about 20 dogs in the house or something. It was a puppy mill. Everybody knew what was going on, but we couldn't do anything. We knew what was going on. It was really bad.
I think we already have one scenario where the neighbor cutting a hole in the fence to retrieve.
Because I've just seen those chickens were out.
I mean, you already have one instance that you already know you have to account for. So it's just, I'm with Mark. I don't think it's dead on arrival. I think it's, unfortunately, I think the best advice is you're probably going to have to manage your time to do a couple of iterations here, I think it's pretty hard to say, yeah, we're for it. Or for me, it would be hard to say, yeah, without seeing something.
Overall, you guys, you want to see stricter parameters. You want to see it labeled pretty detailed. Like, I think it's Louisville that has it pretty detailed. You know, they do the number, there's no roosters, there's a certain amount of feet, there's inspection, the cleanliness of it. That's what you would prefer to see.
But I think also, you've got to remember that we used to have ordinances where the ordinance sounded great on paper, but that was unenforceable. Nobody was like, who's going to do it? So it wasn't Lakewood Village. It sounded great on paper, but it's operationally impossible.
That's why I'm partly concerned about that.
If you're on this side of town with a wooden fence and I can't see, then I don't know where your chickens are. Are they running through the backyard?
I think a misconception is noise and smell. That doesn't happen. A rooster would be noise, and the smell is not. You know, and the stuff is good fertilizer for gardens or compost or whatever. So I think people think it's more of a nuisance, maybe because you've heard of free-range chickens versus just coop chickens.
Well, my concern is that it doesn't fail safe. It's like if it fails, it can be ugly when it fails. Good people that know what they're doing, that want the egg, I'm not worried about that.
What happens if, let's say, somebody buys a modern chicken coop that is made well and all that, and then they just don't take care of it right? Does it turn into a smell or nuisance or?
Well, chickens only live so long, 2 years, I think.
But do these have to be cleaned out? Like, you know, horse stalls have to be mucked and all that. Do these require a lot of maintenance?
I would not the maintenance of a horse stall, if that's what you're comparing to. Does it require maintenance? Yes.
Yeah, what if what if you get somebody that doesn't do the maintenance? What happens? Could it become a problem for their next door neighbor in some form or fashion?
I would say no, but would it just be a building that's starting to rot away? Potentially, like it could be like a shed rotting away, but that's what it would be comparable to. Like you're not taking care of a shed.
Start to walk the line of animal cruelty, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't clean up the dog house, the dog is still in your house.
I thought you were saying if the chickens are gone, what happens?
No, not if they're gone. Just they don't take care of it properly. They keep, maybe their chickens are dying because they're not taking care of them. They just keep buying more and shoving them in there. You know, you're going to get
that
somebody.
Problem with any, I mean, you can get that with any of these dogs in the neighborhood, out of those kennels. You know, people are going. You can have that with any animal. You know, people in town with bees. You can have that with anything.
Yeah. I'll go out a little further and say that if the legislation wasn't entertaining it, I'd be a no right out of the gate. So
The legislation is pretty close. That's probably where to start. It has the parameters. It has what I mean, that could be coming next year for everybody. You know, so you take that, look at what their standards are, and spelled out, you know, how the distance from another, and we start with that. You know.
yeah, I appreciate you taking it on. I mean, this is really good stuff. I appreciate you getting a head start on it.
Okay, does anybody have anything else? No, sir. Okay, well, we're going to go into executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.001. The town council will recess into executive session, closed meeting to discuss the following. 551.0712, Texas Government Code to wit, consultation with town attorney on the matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter to receive legal advice regarding development agreements, development and zoning standards, and 551.072 Texas Government Code to wit, deliberations about real property regarding Sam Hill Ventures, Sanctuary at Sunset Cove, Project Left Field, Project Slade Rock, and Project Boy Scout, and 551.087 Texas Government Code to wit, economic development negotiations regarding Sam Hill Ventures, Sanctuary at Sunset Cove, Project Left Field, Project Slade Rock, and Project Boy Scout. And we're done. 8:46.
Thanks, Darrell.